Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back today on a Friday with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going today, Bill?
Well, apart from the fact that I'm hearing the intro play twice.
Oh, well, that's entertaining. Yeah. I didn't get that on my end. So you just never know where some of that is going, unless
we're outrunning the capabilities of our computers here, buddy.
That could be it. That could be it. I think I'm on like a 5th gen processor, and I need to go up to a 13th gen.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'll be quite the difference in capabilities. All right, let's talk first about this article about the tiny cars. Why won't people buy tiny electric cars?
That intrigued me, especially that little MyBot, KG MyBot. It's just an interesting market that apparently has not developed the way, and we're going to talk about the market later when we get over to Stellantis. But it's a market that showed a lot of promise, particularly in, cramped Southeastern Asian, Indian cities, and apparently just hasn't gone to where they had hoped it would go.
Well, it's hard as Americans, and everybody drives a 4-wheeled vehicle, that it's really hard to appreciate that there's 3-wheeled and 2-wheeled vehicles are really prevalent in some parts of the world compared to 4-wheel.
Absolutely.
But it was only the compact cars were only 11 billion of the 800 billion global EV market for the past year. And sometimes I think it's probably hard for people to fathom that there's that much in EVs being sold, 800 billion. But the
800 million.
Billion dollars.
Oh, dollars. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Dollars. Yeah. Micro EVs were barely 1% of global electric vehicle sales. Global sales of 1.4 million units are expected to stay flat through 26. Even China's dominant micro EV market faces decline as incomes rise. People just don't love these. They typically have a top speed of 62 miles per hour, so they're a little slower. Let me see. There's 785 electric car models available in 2024. That was 2024. That's not even today.
I know. I saw that number. I thought, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. Only 78 were micro EVs, so 1 in 10 models. This included quadricycles, modular trucks, and vans. The segment occupies an uncomfortable middle ground between affordable 2-wheelers and feature-rich larger cars. Potential buyers who want cheap transport pick scooters, and those looking for comfort and range pick SUVs. Micro EVs fall through the gap. It's really kind of funny that, where this fits in the whole picture. China is the leading company in the micro EV market with one success story. The Wuling Mini EV briefly overtook the Tesla Model Y in October to become the best-selling EV that month. It sold 350,000 units.
That's a joint venture with General Motors, the Wuling.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, crazy that we're not, seeing that, and it's a General Motors thing. Of course, that doesn't mean they're going to want to put it over here in the US, but it's still crazy to think about how much some of our companies here in the United States are doing. And I'm trying to find good images here. I mean, it looks almost like a toy car.
Yeah, there's one that I got AI to generate for me, the MG MyBot.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find. Oh, yeah, there you go. That's the Wuling, the General Motors.
Now here's some other Wulings. They all have that decidedly toyish appearance.
Yeah.
I mean, this really looks like one of the little EVs you put Oh, here we go. Here we go. This looks like one of the ones you put your 4-year-old in and have them drive around on the electric.
Well,
Really,
no, yeah, I know what you're saying.
yeah, not, but I think that's the criticism some people have actually had about EVs is that they think of them as just being a souped up version of the ones the kids ride around in. She get that sometimes. Is some of the criticism people have of EVs is that's their impression.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the Tesla Model Y and the Model X kind of fit into that. They still they look cooler than that, but they still have a little bit of that potato look, right?
Yeah, we're used in this country to having big, huge. I mean, go back to the '60s, right, or the '50s, and these gigantic boats that we were driving around back then.
Where the trunk was 8 foot long.
Yeah, exactly. And the bonnet, for want of a better term, the nose of the thing, stretched. In fact, I thought it was interesting. The new Jaguar Type 00. Have you seen that?
I don't know if I have.
This is their all-electric, their new all-electric, top of the line luxury sedan. The Jaguar model 00 or 00, whatever.
Oh yeah. You know what? We've covered this before.
Probably have, yeah. But it's kind of throwback to the 1930s Auburn, right, where you got huge, giant, hood out front. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I mean, well, and this doesn't have the enormous trunk, but some of those cars from back then had trunks the size of a full-size pickup bed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean,
but then you go back. It's funny how this goes, right? Because you go back to the 20s and the 30s, and it was the long nose and the short back, right? And of course, maybe there was a rumble seat back there that would fold out, or there was the spare tire hung back there, but there wasn't much trunk space in these things. And then we began to shift, and then we, put airplane jet tails on these things in the 50s. So, yeah, there you go. The classic Jaguar. Oh, I don't know. What is that? A model what? I don't remember my model.
Oh, numbers. Yeah, I don't know what that Jaguar is specifically. It just says the E-Type.
Somebody listening, I'm sure you know what it is. Type something or another. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's very iconic Jaguar look.
Right.
Captured with a more Batmanish feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But going back to the mini cars, the micro cars.
Yeah. Wow. The Japanese Maybach is $7,000. Yeah. And it surpassed Toyota's EV sales in 24 by securing 3,300 pre-orders. Well, France allows some microcar models to be driven by teenagers as young as 14.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense, right?
Yep. Quadricycles in Europe.
Let me see. VinFast and Hero MotoCorp planned micro EV launches in India. Honda teased one at a Japanese auto show. Toyota unveiled a model with a solar roof. And Hyundai's Inster expanded beyond South Korea to Europe and the Middle East. It's funny because we look at the semi-success of the Elf thing. The Elf thing's really got a following. Our Elf videos get from way back. That was a year and a half, 2 years ago. We interviewed the Elf guy.
Exactly.
That still gets a view or two every day. People are always looking
intrigued by it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think they're specifically looking for the Elf. I think there's people out there that somehow see them used somewhere, or I don't know. I don't know where, what sparks interest in it, but it keeps coming back around. And at some point, we need to have that guy back on. I think, didn't he ask again to come back?
Yes, he has, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to have him back on
and
again.
Unfortunately, I can't recall the name just at the moment, but
yeah, but that's all right.
But you see, you see this. I've been
Rob
covering this
Cotter.
thing for
Rob
nearly,
Cotter from Elf.
yeah, right. I've been covering this thing for like nearly 30 years, right? And you see these things just sort of come in waves and they sort of fade and then they come back. And, I don't know what it takes to make something like that stick, where it just becomes a permanent, part of our culture. I think a lot of it just has to do with infrastructure. Where are you going to ride it, right? It's really kind of not big enough to go on the road with big hulking SUVs and things, but then it's too big to get on, most bike trails and things. So, where does it fit? How do you use it?
Yeah, one of the challenges is because I look at how Ford views things. So Ford makes big dollars when they sell an F-150 and when they sell an Expedition and when they sell a Ford
Yep.
Explorer. They were losing money on all their electric F-150s, and they got out of the car business essentially. They really, I mean, they still have the Ford Mustang, but they don't have any sedans.
Kind of nothing in between.
Nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing anymore. And it was because they weren't making money on right, but they weren't making money on cars. So
right.
They don't have sedans anymore. And I tried to, one of my friends' cars was in an accident and he only drives big sedans. And he had like a big Lincoln. Okay. That when I say a big Lincoln, it's a big Lincoln from say like 5 years ago. Right. Lincoln doesn't make them anymore. And
but there are, there are Lincolns you can buy that are sedans.
I'm not sure about that anymore. I don't know about new ones. Anyways, so I tried hard. His wife, like, can you really try hard to push him to get a Model S? And it's like, so I talked to him a couple of times. He wouldn't have it. He ended up getting a big Cadillac, but which is about the only. He wanted American. He wanted American.
Yep.
And he wanted a sedan. And
so he followed Warren Buffett's lead.
Yeah, I guess. But it was really funny because his wife was like, try really hard, can talk him into getting a Model S. And it's like, I tried. He kept giving me dirty looks. But anyways, it was really
well, he should go back and try again and tell him, go get a Lucid.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. The only fear I'd have with a Lucid in Omaha is getting service.
Yeah, where do you get? I mean, I've seen one, but I don't know where you get it serviced.
But I've made that same comment about people who have McLarens, Ferraris, and Lamborghinis here in Omaha. Yeah. It's like, where are you getting those things serviced? Because we don't have a dealer. I even
see some Maseratis down here occasionally.
Well, and but there was a Maserati dealer. It just closed.
Oh. They
did just discontinue that dealer, but there was a dealership here in Omaha for Maserati. So that, at least we had that in Nebraska. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting. But on these micro EVs, even if you have a good percentage profit margin, when you're selling something for $7,000, you can't be making more than probably $2,000 as a company. Whereas like Ford would rather sell these units where they're probably making, I think they make like 20%. Yes, we do see chat.
We do see chat. Yes.
Yeah.
Hola, Hernandez.
Yeah.
¿Cómo está?
Yeah. We see chat. It doesn't mean we always put it up on the screen.
No.
But it just depends on what it is. But I don't know. It's interesting to see the little ones, and you'd think you'd have, especially like in a college town, you'd think they'd be great, right?
Well, it seems to me it's like the next thing between getting and we'll talk about this in a minute here, getting an e-scooter, right? Or an electric bike rental share kind of a thing, and zip cars, right? Which are full-size cars. It would sort of fit in that niche where you just need it part-time. You need it for a couple hours to go run to the grocery store or, run to the dentist or something like that, just to get around where you're not waiting for the city bus to show up, and you don't want to pay an Uber driver. And
Right.
Tesla or Waymo hasn't come to your neighborhood yet, right? So this would
Mhm.
kind of fit there. But other than that, I don't see this as, I wouldn't spend $7,000 to
Sure.
buy something like that. What would I use it for? I got a bike to go to the grocery store if I want it.
Right. No, I get that. It's kind of a weird niche for one.
Yeah.
So one of the big things that's happened this week that it was funny. Mike's doing his presentation on Wednesday on on the grid and
Right.
what's going on with it. And in the middle of it, I'm watching the ticker screen, and the world is obviously burning while we're having this conversation. So
No.
yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, we had an event called they're calling it the SaaS apocalypse. And so Anthropic Claude came out and announced that people really aren't going to need software anymore because you're going to be able to write everything with Claude's co-work product.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that's not
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah,
true.
yeah.
It's the thing is anybody can create software, but to create something still that's very complex, it takes a lot of hours, takes a lot of complexity. And the problem is you also have to know what all the specs are that a software has to have, right? So it's not a matter of just telling the software you want to create this. It doesn't necessarily know what all of this may be.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot more to this than people let on. I mean,
Yeah,
I
was going to say, can you imagine the prompt that it takes to get something to write a version of Photoshop, for example?
right.
You know?
Yeah, I'm just saying it. So what happens is people who are computer programmers are changing. They're doing this thing called vibe coding, where they're just
Right.
talking and
Yeah.
it's coming along with what's going on, but it's not replacing the programmers. Although in some cases, maybe a place needs less programmers because fewer programmers are getting the work done because they're working so much faster, right?
Yeah.
But because of this, a whole bunch of software companies had their stocks crash for a couple of days, and people also then associated that with other AI products, and then it hit the energy sector too. So the energy sector, especially Oklo took like a 45% dip this week.
Ouch.
It was ridiculous. And you see everything's kind of green today. And
Yeah,
it's
it
all
is.
just sort of rebounding. I mean, New Scale up 17% today. Okay, because
Aqua up 9%, over 9.
Nano up 10%. Yeah, these things. So Oklo dropped to like about 63, $64. That was a perfect entry point. Yeah, look, Oklo is now up 15%.
Yeah,
for the day.
15%. Yeah, that was nine.
Yeah, I mean,
$9.
that's huge. There's so much volatility in the, especially in the nuclear energy stocks, that it's maddening. But this was really the biggest thing that kind of went on this week, and nothing really bad actually occurred. Okay, somebody got this idea that everybody needed to sell their AI and energy stocks, and we saw
and their crypto while they were at it.
yeah, and crypto as well. Crypto did it too, but Nvidia cratered, AMD cratered, and now you see AMD's up 8% today. It was down like 17% on Wednesday or something like that. It was crazy how much some of these fell. And my percentages, I'm probably off if anybody's trying to double check me, but I'm close. I'm close on those percentages. But I mean, I'm looking at these and it's like, man, that is just so much volatility in the space. Yeah, and for people who are day traders, they love volatility. But for those people who buy and hold, man, it makes your heart sink when you see your portfolio just, drop by big numbers in a single day. Anyways, but let's talk about Stellantis. So we've already had the bad news from Ford and GM about their write-downs.
Let's just add another car maker while we're at it.
Yeah, I didn't know Stellantis had all this.
Not a car maker, a car maker holding company.
Yeah, Stellantis, which owns Jeep and Chrysler, announced a 22 billion euro in charges to scale back EV ambitions and reset the business. That's 26 billion US dollars. About 2/3 of that covers the cost of dropping planned electric vehicle models they were developing. And combined with Ford's 19.5 billion and GM's 7.6 billion write-downs, global automakers, and this is kind of a weird thing. Global automakers have booked 55 billion in EV pullback charges. This is the US big three getting hammered in the electric vehicle space.
Well, Stellantis is mostly European.
I get that.
They do own Jeep. They do own Ram. Do we even have Chrysler anymore? I don't know.
No, I get that. But what I'm saying is it's still the US big three.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's still the US big three. They are so out of touch with what's going on worldwide when 1/4 of world car sales are now EVs, and they haven't figured out how to make an EV be profitable yet.
Yep. Which is why they're getting their lunch eaten by the Chinese.
The Chinese are taking up all of their market share around the world. The US is still about 20% of the world's car market, I think. It's a big chunk. It's a big chunk. It's not as big as China, but it's a big chunk. But anyways, and at the same time, Ford unveils a $30,000 mid-size electric pickup.
Yeah, gives you a sneak peek at the, well, I don't know what part. I'm assuming that's got to be the grill or something.
Yeah, I got a picture of the bumper.
Yeah, it's a bumper.
And
they did this, by the way, they did exactly the same thing to me at General Motors when I got to see the very first Volt, the very first Chevrolet Volt. They had it under canvas. It was the original clay model of the Volt. And that's all they showed us. They pulled the canvas back and they showed us just a little corner of it. So this is sort of a strategy that the car makers use when they want to kind of tease us a little bit. You know, they don't show us the nipple, but they show us the shoulder.
Yeah. Bill, I've crashed. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you still. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to close out my browser. I'll be right back.
All right. Sounds good. We'll try to carry on here while we're mentioning Ford and the various automakers. Of course, Ford and I think it was NIO kind of quashed a rumor that they were in talks to collaborate, the Chinese car company with the American car company. But it appears that while that might not have been true, it appears that Ford is in talks with Geely, who, of course, is the powerhouse, the manufacturer behind the Polestar car that was a spinoff of Volvo, and then also of the Polestar and the Volvo. So those, and now apparently Ford is in discussions with them to do something in the way of low-cost, affordable, mass-produced passenger cars for the apparent, I would guess, the U.S. market. Interestingly, while Ford has ceased producing the F-150, and by the way, for the first time in a number of months, I don't know exactly how many months, but for the first time, the gasoline-powered Ford Mustang has actually sold more than the Mustang Mach-E, the electric version. For a good many number of months, it was the other way around. They sold more Mustang Mach-E's than they did the original Ford Mustang. So that has turned around a little bit. But Ford apparently is in talks, and nobody's denied it, is in talks with Geely, which, of course, would, if that's true, then that would give Geely's an entrance into the market. And while we're talking about Chinese EVs coming into the market, we probably want to talk about the fact that Canada has dropped their tariff on Chinese vehicles, which means that now you'll more than likely begin to see Chinese-made vehicles coming to North America, not just Mexico now, but to the north of us in the Canadian market. So lots of things happening in the EV front. Hey, Dave, you're back with us. Hi, bud.
Yeah. Like I said, I've got to do some work on some upgrades. I just 16 gigs of RAM isn't cutting it anymore.
No, you got to go to 32 at least, buddy.
Yeah. So, anyways,
hey, so I touched on Geely and
pictures.
Ford.
Okay, we didn't actually get any pictures of the. They just said they revealed their universal EV platform designed for affordable EVs starting around 30 grand.
No, they didn't. They teased a corner. You know, it's kind of like the Ford Motor Company or any EV, you know, any OEM typically does a strip tease. The closer they get to launch, a little bit more of the, you know, the costume that they reveal, you know, that they pull the wraps off of.
Yeah, CNBC did an article on U.S. automakers pivoting away from EVs back to gas-guzzling trucks and SUVs, while Chinese manufacturers accelerate EV production. China is cementing control over global EV supply chains and markets as American companies retreat. Yeah, I mean, it's just sad to see. I mean, we see the writing on the wall, and man, the U.S. companies are trying so hard to keep burning oil.
Well, I wrote a little piece, or I didn't write the piece. I gave the necessary prompts to the AI to write a piece about this. We showed that the new policies put out by the current White House occupant has cost the American will cost the American consumers by 2050 something like $135 billion in extra fuel costs. Of course, that then provides car makers with a little bit of relief, but it also keeps the dollars flowing into the oil company pipelines.
Yeah, well, we'll see where that goes. Let's see. Solid state EV batteries hit commercial milestone in the U.S. Factorial Energy launched its first commercial solid state battery program with Karma Automotive.
Yeah. Take a look at that car. Wow. Now, Karma, by the way, just for everybody knows, Karma was originally Henrik Fisker's car. It was a plug-in. It was a range extended hybrid, E-Rev.
Okay.
And then that went bankrupt. So a Chinese company stepped in and bought basically the Karma name. And there was probably other IP that came along with it and things. And so they're pledged that they're going to continue to make, electric vehicles. And this apparently is one of the first ones I've seen. Pretty dang slick looking car. And
it is.
It would have a solid state battery in it.
Let's see. What kind of data did we get with this? The FEST, the FEST quasi-solid state cells.
Yeah, I was going to say, it got something like 730 some miles of range on it, and there's some other specs. I think it's in the article there.
Okay, yeah, I didn't get into the article, but let's see what I spot here.
As you can tell, folks, we sometimes just wing this.
Yeah. Wow. So that car is expected to have up to 1,000 horsepower. 250 miles of range, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds.
I thought it was more than that. Okay, my bad.
No, it's still. Yeah, the article talks about the Mercedes-Benz EQS with the 745.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of.
For 745 miles without stopping to charge.
And by the way, I saw one of those here in Omaha the last week. Somebody's got one of those here.
Oh, the EQS.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sure there's lots of them around town. I've seen them at tennis places before, so I know they're around. Anyways, let's see what else we got here today. Sodium ion battery breakthrough, fast charging rival to lithium. Scientists at MIT, or this is according to MIT Technology Review, scientists achieved a fast charging breakthrough, bringing sodium ion energy density closer to lithium ion performance. They're cheaper, safer, more abundant, and finally making their way into cars and grid storage. Could reduce risky lithium ion dependence while cutting battery costs dramatically. Plus, the sodium ion batteries can't catch fire. Not that that's as big of a deal as people make it, but it'd be nice just to eliminate it
It's
altogether.
a nice. Well, that being said, I came across an article. No, it was a YouTube video, I think, that was showing that these are the cars that you've been directed not to park in your garage when you're charging. And two of those happened to be Jeeps. And another one was, I forget what the other one was, but there were, interestingly, of that list of cars there were dealer, there were car maker OEM warnings. Don't park it in the garage. About half of them, at least half of them, were gasoline only cars. You think, oh God, I got to read this or listen to this video. And I was thinking it's going to go through a whole, of course, Chevrolet Bolt, my Bolt 2022 is listed in that. But other than that and the Jeep, E-Rev Ram, and some of those, and the Chrysler Pacifica minivan, all the rest of them are gasoline powered.
They're saying these are cars not safe to park in your garage.
Cars not safe parking in your garage until they're recalled or whatever. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it is funny, how much gas cars do catch
they catch
fire.
far more than do the electrics. Yeah.
Yeah. But we don't hear about it. Yeah. All right. Elon Musk space data center gambit. AI in orbit by 2029. Musk isn't good at predicting dates. Okay, he's good at a lot of things. That's not one of them.
Yeah.
Musk predicts space will be cheapest place for AI data centers within 30 to 36 months, powered entirely by solar. Plans to merge SpaceX and XAI in a $1.25 trillion merger to build orbital computing infrastructure. Space offers free cooling, constant solar power, and no land use constraints, though experts cite huge technical challenges. Well, Musk is always up for a technical challenge.
So if you look down in the articles in my editor's picks, you'll see there's this thing there, why everyone is talking about data centers in space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is an article that I referenced to a video by Scott Manley. Now, if you don't follow space developments very closely, that probably won't ring any bells with you. He's one of the guys that I tend to follow when we're talking about what's happening with respect to SpaceX and the space program and things of that nature. So he made an interesting observation. We're thinking about putting these data centers in space, and I have an illustration in there of the Starlink Mini 2.0, which was the next grade. I think they've gone now to Mini 3s at this point, but these are the Starlink satellites. And they said it'd be a really relatively, I guess, trivial matter to take and just simply put the necessary electronics inside of that satellite to be able to now become a data center. And there's a way you can fly them in formation and so on that can take advantage of that. What's interesting is that to make this work, there's only a certain orbital position where it works. So what you're going to have is essentially a space land rush with Blue Origin and Tesla or SpaceX and other startups that want to get that slot. and it's
Mhm.
only that slot in which it works, and it happens to be on the meridian between sunrise and sunset on the Earth. So it has to be a solar or sun synchronous orbit, and there's only just a very narrow band around the Earth where that will work. So it's
Hmm.
sort of like the equivalent of the Oklahoma land rush
Yeah.
to get up there. And of course, Musk obviously has a certain advantage to that. But you've got not only American companies, you've got European Space Agency, Indian Space Agency, Chinese, obviously, Russians. Although there's not very much happening anymore with the Russian Space Agency. They've really
Run out of
lost a
money.
lot of the initiative because of what's happened, with respect to Ukraine and all that type of thing. So, but there's going to be a lot of people competing for that space. So it's going to be a matter of who gets up there and can show that it actually works.
All right. Nuclear power surging for AI. Meta announces 6.6 gigawatt projects. So, while this whole SaaS apocalypse thing has been going on this week, on the first day that Oklo lost like 15%, they signed a contract with Meta to provide 1.2 gigawatts of nuclear energy from SMRs.
Right.
And it's pretty significant because I think it's their first real significant contract for Oklo. But at the same time, their stock cratered. And it's just like, because
somebody probably saw the video that I posted a link to over the last few days, where this guy analyzes SMRs, and he's not particularly excited about it. But then just after that, I came across another guy who is a nuclear engineer, he claims, that took a little bit more skeptical view. So I'm not. I know you're into SMRs, and that would be nice, but the point is does it actually make sense? And there's a whole bunch of obstacles. So that's a really interesting YouTube video that you can find. I think if you scroll down far enough through the RS feed, you'll find it.
It depends on what the applications people are looking at it for. I don't know that some of the SMR stuff is as good of a replacement for other types of energy for the grid. It's more of off-grid setups where it makes sense.
That's a point that the guy made. He says there's certain applications like you're referring to where there just isn't really any other power source that can be safely used or whatever in these kind of remote situations. So I found it really interesting.
Yeah, because there's other types of energy that can be produced cheaper than nuclear. It's just getting them located right next to where the power is needed. That's the challenge.
Yeah. What's interesting is in that video, there's she puts a graph in there showing where wind is, power generation, and where, solar is, and it was, cost to the amount of power being generated is just, savings are phenomenal compared to conventional, like the Hinkley nuclear facility over in England, and the Savannah River plant, things like that. That's cost gone through the roof. So anyway, it's interesting. It provides a little bit different perspective on the viability of putting too much stock and too much hope in nuclear, at least as we understand it. And the interesting thing is, in that video, the problem is, he says, the nuclear is not the problem. It's the fact that we're still depending on 18th century steam engine technology, because that's what, in fact, a nuclear power plant, just a boiler to put steam into a generator to spin a wheel. He said, and there's the Carnot, the Carnot principle. You can only get so much energy out of steam, and that's the limiting factor. So we've got, if we're really going to be smart in the future, we got to figure out how, if we're going to turn miniature suns at millions of degrees, how do we take that millions of degrees and use that for practical purposes, generating electricity that will bypass or detour around or whatever, this dependent upon turning water into steam. That's because that's what they're all, it's just a steam engine.
Yep. All right. Tesla stock volatility, robo-taxi revenue versus car business falling apart. This is from Yahoo Finance. Analysts, some claim Tesla's car business is falling apart. Tesla fell to $399. I don't know where.
Yeah, it's up today. It's like 414, 415, something like that.
Yeah. With it having been down 9.6% year to date. Of course, year to date is only what? We're only 5 weeks into the year.
Yeah.
It's not a big change, big year to date. Others predict robotaxi revenue could hit 250 billion by 2035. So 8 years, and they call Tesla the biggest leader in physical AI. So between robots and what it's doing with robotaxi, even though there's other companies doing similar things, it really is the biggest leader in physical artificial intelligence, which is kind of an interesting claim. And that's kind of how Musk wants it viewed, right?
Exactly.
He viewed as a technology company and not a car company. The Wall Street consensus is that Tesla could hit a 1.4 trillion market cap by the end of 2026 if robotaxi and Optimus programs deliver. The only thing we do know for sure they're going to deliver is just when.
Yeah,
exactly. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when it actually happens.
Oh, and talking about Optimus, remember last time we were talking about walking dogs?
Hmm. Yeah.
And I decided I'm going to turn this into a little bit of a parody.
That was a good story.
Yeah, it got a surprising number of hits too.
Did you put up? Oh, did you put it on the page? Oh, you did.
It's on the page. Yeah, if you go down.
Yeah, I said you needed to come up with a sarcasm or something section.
Yeah, looks like it may have moved off the top. Yeah, I don't. It's apparently I've moved it now. It's gone. It's gone. It's rolled over.
Okay. Yeah, that was pretty good. It was talking about how you needed. What was it? AI calculated. You needed 20 dogs.
You needed 20 dogs to produce enough poop to biodigest that into methane to run a electrical to run a generator of some kind.
To charge the robot.
To charge the robot. Yeah.
Your Tesla Optimus. Yeah. Yeah, that was a really good story. I mean, and it's factual to a degree, right?
Yeah. I hope.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones that are, generated by the what I call SI.
Yeah.
Which is synthetic intelligence, thanks to comedian Hal Sparks, came up with that. I thought, I like that. Everybody talks about AI. I'm going to call it SI. So
there you go. Let's see. Oh, they're having the first ever EV toll race in Tuscany.
Yeah.
Man, Jetson staged a landmark personal EV toll race featuring multiple Jetson 1 aircraft going through a GPS guided course. Personal air race proved that personal air racing is viable and safe, bringing electric aviation closer to mainstream. Let's see what we got here. We'll take a closer look at this if it actually loads on my screen. Well, maybe it won't load on my screen.
Nah, sorry.
Oh, I don't know that that's a website. Who knows?
Well, yeah, the website is EV World, by the way.
Yeah. Wow, I wouldn't have guessed this. You got this article. Nearly 1 in 3 cars produced in Germany in 2025 was purely electric.
Yes, not a plug-in, pure electric.
With falling ICE car sales, nearly 1 in 3 cars built in Germany in 25 was fully electric. Factories produce 1.22 million battery electric vehicles out of a total of 4.1 million vehicles, including, and that includes, the 4.1 million also includes plug-in hybrids.
Yeah, yeah.
Total electric out. If you include plug-ins, the number hit 1.67 million. So there was about 450 million plug-in hybrids made too. Production rose 15% year over year, making Germany the world's number 2 EV producer after China.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And you remember when the best-selling EV in Germany was the Tesla?
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore. The best-selling EV is the Volkswagen ID.7, which is pictured on the website.
Nice. All right. Well, let's talk about our last story for the day, and that is the micromobility paradox. Booming sales, rising injuries, and the policy gap schools cannot ignore. So, can you tell me a little bit about this article?
Yeah, so what this is about is the fact that this is published in a magazine called, I think, School Safety, something like that, School Safety Magazine. So this is obviously I see that around here, by the way. You know, we've got an elementary school just a few blocks from me here. And so there are kids that, ride bicycles over there. And then I see a lot of kids running around on these, stand-up little, what I call kick scooters, as opposed to motorcycle sit-down kind of a Vespa type thing. And so there's a lot of that going on. Well, that particular, and particularly in college campuses, we were talking earlier about, the difference between a two-wheeler and a zip car on campus. So you see a lot of these kids on campuses, college kids are riding these, to get between classes, the dormitory or wherever. And so what's happened is that as the use of these has increased, so have the number of accidents and people falling and being hurt, from them. You don't see a lot of people wearing, knee pads and elbow pads and helmets. They just get on it and ride. And you're tooling along 12, 15 miles an hour, you're going to get hurt. And depending on what you end up hitting. So this article basically talking about the increasing number of accidents, and it's been precipitous. I mean, it's going along and hang. It shoots up in a number. I forget the exact percentage. I think it's in the article, but a surprising number of people being hurt. So what's happened is that universities now and schools are beginning to either restrict their use or they're banning them entirely. And it goes through a number of the universities that are doing it and so on in the article. What is interesting is the fact that there isn't a correlation, although there is, and we talked about this before going on, is that the sales of these things has just gone ballistic. It just shot up, and there it is right there. So that's the accidents that have happened. But what it's not showing is that the number of scooters that are being sold is something like, I think it's close to 250% increase in the number of scooters that are sold. It's just gone, crazy. So as you would expect, the more people riding them, the more numbers of accidents there will be.
We've had a significant reduction in number of people injured by horses in the last 100 years. Yeah,
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. It's funny how that works. Yeah, or the number of people being hit by trains.
Yeah.
It's funny. We still have a lot of train accidents in the United States, though.
Right, but we don't have that. Well, we do occasionally. We do have, people being injured with train crashes and things. Yeah. That still does happen, but I don't know. What's the relationship between those and when the trains started catching on in the 1860s and 70s and 80s. So before they started building Pullmans and.
I have a friend that's on call all the time, and he's an engineer that specializes exclusively in railroad bridges. And there's so many things happen with the railroads and their bridges that he's getting called constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Was he
just
independent contractor? Or you worked for?
no. He works for. I think it's UP.
Okay.
Yeah, and but it's just funny. It's like I wouldn't have thought. Who'd have thought there's this many incidents happening to the bridges that the trains run on?
Well, are you familiar with not Giles Road, but with Portal Road here in town?
A little.
Yep, there. If you look down in, and I don't know if they've taken it quite out because they've been expanding that housing apartment complex along They built an apartment complex along the original route of the Union Pacific Railroad, just down the hill from us here. And but there was one of those bridges is still there from that particular era, from the the 1870s. That bridge is still there
In the apartment complex?
on the edge of it. I think there used to be a big ravine that ran through there, so they had to obviously bridge over that. But
and we're talking like 120-year-old bridge.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's something. Anyways, well, folks, thanks for listening to us ramble on today. And
boy, have we covered the gamut today.
Yeah, I'll probably be back with Mike on Wednesday. We'll see. But otherwise, everybody have a great weekend.
Dave's going to be gone for a medical procedure.
Yeah.
He'll explain later at some point.
Yeah, probably. Anyways, all right, everyone, have a great day.